I'm Stefan Steiner. My guest today is Jan, co-founder of Crypto Finance. Welcome, Jan. Please tell us who you are.
Hi, Stefan. Thanks for having me. My name is Jan Brzezek. I'm the former founder and CEO of Crypto Finance. I used to work in finance, in banking, and then left the bank in 2017 to found Crypto Finance. And then I sold it in 2021. Was a short but very intense period. And now I'm in my new venture, which is a booking platform for mooring boys called Mooring Mate.
Thank you very much, Jan, for this introduction. You mentioned you've been a banker before. How did you came up with the idea of starting Crypto Finance in 2017? Not many bankers were into crypto.
Yeah, it's indeed funny because I got into Bitcoin because of UBS. We did several innovation projects back in 2015-16. It was called the Future Finance, and we looked at tokenization, crypto, blockchain in general, but as well robotics and AI. But I was more involved on the crypto blockchain side. And the more I read about it, the more I got excited about it. And I pitched it internally. Unfortunately, the bank didn't want to move on. So that's why I decided to leave the bank and found the company myself, which was not easy at the beginning because when you come from a corporate backup and have no startup experience and no investors, it's not that easy. It's a new world, but it was an interesting one to be self-employed again. With a family and everything, so you haven't had anymore your corporate salary. Nobody was telling you what you should do. You had to come up with everything yourself. So that was super interesting, but as well very rewarding.
Stepping back from the corporate salary, but becoming an entrepreneur. I think that's a great achievement because we've seen many out of university. You first went into banking. So let's also talk a bit into that later on. What are the feelings then in this side? You traveled with the Venture Leaders to Hong Kong in 2019. How did Crypto Finance benefit from this roadshow?
It was amazing in several aspects. First, obviously, you meet other entrepreneurs, and that helps you to share the pains and the wins with your people in a similar situation. So within your team, if you're the CEO, the founder, everyone expects you to know everything or do everything. And with other entrepreneurs, other founders, it helps tremendously to share pros and cons of different decisions, strategies, and so on. We were in a time where we were looking to expand outside of Switzerland. We were looking at Asia, and the Venture Leaders was an amazing event or trip to get to know the region, get to know some local contacts, pitch there. At the time, I had already some interviews or some contacts for my financing round. So I was very often, as you know, I was running around and meeting other people during the trip, but it was so much fun. And as you know, we're still meeting nowadays every year, and we still have a very good bond and experience together.
And that's what we hear from a lot of the groups travel together, that really it's a friendship that they create within this 1 week. And as you mentioned, Venture Leaders FinTech team is still meeting every year. And that shows it's way more than just an investor roadshow.
Yeah, totally. It's brothers in arms. We're all facing the same challenges and we can learn a lot from each other. And it's not about just having a coffee together. It's traveling, it's pitching together, see how others pitch in front of others helps you tremendously as well to improve your pitch, to see how investors are responding to the others versus to your pitch, sharing or getting feedback from other venture leaders was super helpful. Yeah, then going out together, partying together, obviously is again another very important factor in a startup founder journey.
Exactly. You mentioned you already had funding in Switzerland and were looking in Asia for international investors. So, what changed when you started pitching to international investors instead of the Swiss ones?
You have to change the story. In Switzerland, you have to be more humble. You have to be more on figures, and it's more about your background, maybe. In Asia or in the US, it's much more want to conquer the world. It's much more, do you have a big vision, or are you too narrow-minded, or just too shy? That it doesn't work. In Switzerland, it's a good thing when you present to investors, I would say. Internationally, offshore, Asia, it's the other way around.
Thank you for this insights. What was the hardest part for you also building an international team?
I would say it always has pros and cons. With an international team or a diverse team, I would say it brings in new perspectives, new insights into local markets, but as well, it's a different culture. So you have to adapt to that. You cannot expect that everyone thinks like a Swiss guy who is used to think independently. Sometimes you have to be more clear. You have to precisely define what the process is or what the so not only focus on the outcome, but as well tell them what the process should be, what you're expecting. That makes it more complex because yeah, you have to manage them more carefully. On the other hand, it's absolutely crucial if you want to grow internationally. You can't do it just with a Swiss team or local team. You need to have people on the ground there who know the differences. What I just said with financings, right, with pitches, it's a different wording. Exactly the same for when you launch a product or when you distribute a product, that you adopt it to local specialities, to local requirements, which are sometimes different to what we have in Switzerland.
In spring 2021, Bitcoin was on a high and Deutsche Börse acquired a majority stake. Was it the perfect timing for you? You mentioned in the introduction it was a time as an entrepreneur.
I started working on full time for crypto finance 1st of July 2017. I left UBS end of June 17, and then we signed the agreement with Deutsche Börse end of June 21. So it was like 4 years, and 4 years is not much in a corporate environment, but startup is much more intense than corporate, and then crypto is just um, like multiplied by 2 or 3. It's 24/7. It's global. It's the space is growing or developing rapidly. So there's no break, and that's super intense. It was on the 17th of December 2017. We went from early 17 to the 17th of December 17 went from $1,000 to $20,000 per Bitcoin, which was already crazy. And then it went down again. And in 1921, it went up again. Yes, 21 was probably a good year for that. But my lesson as well is corporates, incumbents don't buy in a bear market. They want to have it expensive. They want to get nervous if they're missing something. And only then they're doing it. And even after the transaction, they told me, yeah, you sold in a good time. We could have bought it cheaper later or before. And said, yes, but yeah, you wouldn't have bought it. And they said, yeah, you're right. We wouldn't have acquired it before or afterwards. So it was the right time for both sides, I would say.
Yeah, I think timing is always critical. And then also, as you say, the fear of missing out for a lot of corporates.
Yeah, and funny thing, at that time, many of my peers and friends in the space said, "Oh, you sold way too early. We're going much higher. You should keep it." And I said, "Look, better now have a good strategic partner." They acquired the majority of the company and then the rest over the following 3 years. And better to have them in now and continue with them and grow even further than waiting for a top which might come or not come, and then you're struggling. We have seen several very bad events or difficult events in the past with FTX and others. And this is just, yeah, if you run a startup, if you're responsible for a team, in the end, we had like 120 people. You can't take the same risk anymore as you would do as a single person. And that was for me the most responsible thing to do at that time.
You mentioned responsibility. What have you learned from the whole journey as an entrepreneur versus being a banker?
Maybe banking is difficult or very specific already, that it's very much top down. You get your goals, your OKRs, and so on, and then you just execute on them. If you're an entrepreneur, nobody's telling you what you should do. You have to come up with the solution, and you need to know the market. You need to lead the people. You need to take care of financing rounds. So you have to take care of all the different aspects yourself. There's no corporate center behind you or a manager who is telling you what to do. Obviously, you have some board members, but they're more strategic. They might tell you more or share some of their experience they had and how they solved it. That's maybe a call to action or a recommendation from my side as well for all the entrepreneurs. Find mentors. It's tremendously helpful. It's very insightful. You learn a lot. You can avoid a lot of costly mistakes. And then when you're an entrepreneur, it's yourself. Nobody's telling you what to do. You have to run. And I'm always telling people that entrepreneurship is like hiking on a mountain, on a ridge, where on one side it's over and you run out of funds, you lose some big clients, lose your team or key members of your team, and everything is horrible, bad, and it's over. And on the other side, it's we won, we rule the world, we become the next big thing, and so on. And this emotion can change within the day. So
Several
it's
times.
highly emotional, and you have to get used to that. You can't stop. You just have to keep running, and it doesn't matter what emotion you currently have. One example is if you do a big financing round or you win a big client. A new big client doesn't come overnight. So you work for half a year, especially in B2B. The sales cycles are pretty long. And if you work for half a year on this client, and then they say the first time they say we're interested, the second time after another few months say okay, we go with you, we take your platform, we do a collaboration with you. After that, legal discussions, you sign a contract. This is another kind of milestone. Yeah, we have them, we do the collaboration with them, and then another few months later it will be announced. And then everyone comes, congratulations. And you just, yeah, I'm already on 5 other ones which are in the pipeline. This one is done since months. And this is sometimes very difficult to manage personally, psychologically, that you can keep up with that. Yeah, that you win one, you lose one. Yeah, and fact is as well, we will never get the easy problems, right? It's only the difficult problems come up to you, because all the easy problems get normally solved by your staff, your team. Only if they can't solve it or find an agreement, they come to you. So you will never get the easy answers. You always have to dig into the details and think about that. And probably the biggest lesson, or one of the biggest lessons for me as an entrepreneur, is having the big picture. It means to me that it doesn't matter how fast you run. It's more important that you run in the right direction. So it's more important to have the right strategy and the right topic and the right execution plan than running very fast in the wrong direction. So better know where you have to run and run continuously than being faster, deploy faster, work 24/7. You anyway have to work 24/7, or at least with your mind, your brain, you're constantly thinking about the business as an entrepreneur. But it's more important really to have, sometimes it's important to zoom out and check in if you still have the right direction, instead of just solving all the small issues on a daily business. So having the big picture is, in my opinion, absolutely crucial.
I fully agree. A startup life is a marathon, as we usually say, and not a sprint.
Yeah, totally.
So you're now restarting with another business. What is your advice to yourself to scale internationally from the learnings from crypto finance?
I would say in general, it's obviously I have the financial means now to build quietly or to build on with a good basis instead of do an MVP fundraising, build the next phase, fundraise again, so I can build a proper platform and then deploy it and go out to the public. In the past, we have done as a startup, sometimes you have to decide between, do we build something for now, which is like an MVP, is something new, a new business area, a new product or something which might bring something or not, versus having a proper platform which takes longer to build, but then it lasts longer. And we had to throw away quite a few platforms, or we have signed some contracts which afterwards were not worth the money or were not as good as we would have hoped to. So sometimes, yes, I know a saying is go fast and break things, or just try it and then you will see. I partially agree, but on some, if you build a platform, you better build it properly so that you don't have the debt and the legacy afterwards, which slows you down as soon as you have clients then. So better take a little bit more time to build a good foundation and then go out than just trying and quickly building something. Nowadays, in the time of AI and vibe coding, it's very quickly, like a nice UI, it's very quickly done. But then when you dig into the edge cases or if you want to deploy it, it's a different world. And yes, you can have different modules built very quickly with AI, but they properly connect with each other and the booking logic behind works is a different league. I would say having a nice UI is 80%. It's like 80% from the client perspective and it looks nice, and it takes 20%, but then solving the last 20% that the platform really works will take 80%. And if you do it properly or better already at the beginning, you can save a lot of time afterwards.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jan, for your time and for sharing all these insights, also with the next generation of the venture leaders. It was a great pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, thanks very much, Stefan.
Thank you, Jan.